What's up, guys? It's your man, Donovan. Welcome to the third edition of Not All Women. I, of course, am 1/4 of the panel today. Pearl has a game, and Janelle is actually traveling to Mexico for one of her retreats. So looks like it's going to be just the four of us, but I think we will be good to go. Let me go ahead and introduce today's esteemed panel. First up, the woman who made history last night as the first person with two X chromosomes to make an appearance on The Six. That's right. It is at Real Femme Sapien. Allie, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'll be reacting to it later. Y'all, I never thought I would say this, but I'm so tired of talking to millionaires. It's so much pressure. First world problems.
Yeah, you know how that goes. So what was it like being on The Six yesterday? Are we these monstrous misogynistic woman haters that we are perceived in the media, or are we good guys?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. People just can't differentiate the advice from the locker room talk. Men do talk differently when they're in a room full of men. So I had a very positive experience, but I will say it was hard for me to be on the panel because they were dropping so many gems. So I'm trying to take all these lessons in life, and then I'm being questioned, and it was just so much to process. So yes, definitely watch The Six if you're a young man who is struggling in the dating scene or just aimless at life. It'll help you, especially if you're under the age of 25. Whoo, can't nobody stop you then.
No, sir. No, sir. But you represented yourself very well. I know you were nervous, but you handled your nerves very well. And so
Thank you.
looking forward to having you on more often. Next up, one of our panelists who is across the pond, the lovely and talented Tallulah Johnson. How are you, Tallulah?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Been very, very productive. So what's the weather like in London right now?
Cold, windy, and it's starting to rain, so hopefully it would warm up a bit, but it's it's very, very cold.
You know, it's interesting, Tallulah. Well, I was gonna say, is I've heard that London is a lot like Seattle, in that it's cloudy a lot, it rains a lot. Is that true, or is that just what we see on TV?
It's true.
Well, yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay, excellent. All right, so we know if you want to live in Seattle, but you're looking for a change, listen, man, go to London. I've never been to London before. Last but certainly not least, the woman. Is that the other man?
Sorry.
Is that the other? Is that the other man?
Yes.
So yes, next up, of course, is the lovely and talented Devin, who just was feeling up my cat.
Yes, sir.
Walter.
He's so cute.
So how long's that affair been going on?
About 4 months.
4 months.
just got him fixed. So
that's right. That's right.
We can have all kinds of fun. No. Yeah, I'm doing great. Last night's panel, The Six, Allie did great.
She did.
Really, really fun. So I'm looking forward to this. It should be interesting to get a little bit more airtime with the ladies. So
excellent. And you have expressed interest in doing a show with just you and Allie and you and Tallulah and you and Janelle.
Yeah, eventually we'll get
yeah. I think that'll be cool, man. Without the bullheaded bull in a china shop, Donovan Sharp and his misogynistic ass talking over everybody all the time.
Cutting people off.
Yes, you know, all that toxic masculinity that I exude day in, day out. Okay, so let's get right into it. I'm going to start off with Tallulah first. Why don't women listen to men in terms of what we want and need in relationships here in 2022?
I think that a lot of women believe what they are told by their girlfriends and by the media, that they don't have to, that they are fine how they are. They don't have to self-improve. They don't have to do any of these things. And them just being who they are is enough to go into a relationship and to be wanted by men. But it's also as well that you can have women that are actually getting plenty of messages from guys, so it's the constant confirmation that they feel they're getting, that I'm just fine how I am and I don't have to try any harder with that. I think.
Yeah, it's always very tricky. Obviously, relations between men and women these days very, very contentious. Allie, what is your best guess in terms of why women simply do not listen to men when it comes to what we want and need?
I'll say there's probably two reasons. One, women think they're special in general, the baseline indoctrination of modern women is that they're special, and you'll see it on TV. They're constantly getting bombarded with everything is the man's fault and they're right. And if the man doesn't comply with that program, well, she can just get out and find another one. He's not worth it. That's
Right.
one aspect. The other aspect I would say would be traumatic upbringings, where they have been put in positions to where they find everything somebody says or recommends skeptical because they can't discern if they're being helped or if they're about to be attacked. And so when you bring that into a relationship, your man could be telling you, this is what I would like. And you're looking at them kind of like, are you sure? How do you know? Some things are just suspicious for women coming from that sort of background, but those are my best answers.
Hey, very good. Dev, what is your best guess in terms of why women do not listen to men in terms of what we want and need in relationships?
I think if you notice that women who don't listen to men probably don't really listen to anybody. They have a lack of accountability. They have no respect for authority. And they just really don't have much discipline. Women are basically raised right now to not trust men, that women are always right. What they say is the only way. And anyone, like Ali said, anyone who doesn't agree, they can just go find someone else who will. So, I think that women not trusting men is the core of the issue here. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, very good. Well, let's go ahead and go back around the panel. Let's go back to the women are special thing. Now, Tallulah, I'll start off with you with this. When we say women aren't special, in the same breath, I'm always the guy that says, listen, I'm not special. No man is special. No woman is special. But when men and or women hear this, they think, well, wait a minute, I'm special. And they think that when we say men and women or no woman is special, they take offense to it. So in other words, by saying, well, women aren't special, that means that women are worthless. Why is it that women take offense to hard and fast truths? Listen, we love you guys. We certainly want you in our lives, but we understand, just like we are, I don't want to say a dime a dozen, we clearly have more worth in terms of the dating market. Reproductively, you guys have infinitely more worth. Why do women take offense when men tell them, hey, listen, you're one of a million rather than one in a million?
That's a difficult question. I think it is literally because what I was saying about the media and about, constant confirmation. Everywhere these women look, there's confirmation that they are the best. Even on adverts, it's, what's the law? I think it's L'Oreal, isn't it? You're worth it.
Yes. Oh, right.
Little messages like that, you're worth it and you deserve this, and everyone, and, it's all that all inclusive. It's not only about women, right? It's that all-inclusive woke stuff. Everyone is special, everyone is unique, everyone has it's not just what it's what's given to just women, but they aren't living in reality. And I think for myself anyway, and also what I've heard Devon and Ali sharing many times, that frustration when you have a female in your life, a friend or a friendly acquaintance, and you say to them, like, literally, look, like, he's offering this, this, and this,
right?
And you're not special and different. You're not like, it's everyone thinks that they are like the exception to everything. And yeah, I have this to offer, that to offer. And it's like, okay, but that's all about, it's usually things to do with them. It's not, what do you have to offer this man in a relationship?
Wow.
So it's a little bit of a difficult question, because it's everywhere. It's not just the message that's given to women. It's the message that is given to absolutely every single soul. I mean, here in the UK, we had a program on Friday morning, and they were talking about, there was a guy saying there was like, I think like 30 different genders or something. And that's fine how it is. And, even the host of the show, was saying, what on earth are you talking about? Yeah. But it's, oh yeah, but I'm this. And, it's as so much entitlement these days. It actually makes me really, really sad for the future. And not to get like emotional, but it makes me sad for the future, because it's just this is just all going so fast, right? Like all these messages of how special and different everyone is, and it's just not reality. It's just not.
Holy smokes. Tallulah did not leave much meat on the bone for anyone, but we're going to try. Allie, why do women take offense? Because you saw the Myron Gaines, Brittany Renner, quote unquote, confrontation. Myron said, Brittany said, why don't you tell everyone about me? That was her confrontation. By the end of the podcast, she was eating out of his hand, as most people do. But why do women like Brittany Renner have that adverse reaction when we say women aren't special? Well, are you special? And Myron says, well, no, I never said I was. Why do women take offense to not being special, not being these otherworldly beings? What are your thoughts on that?
I think in general, it's hard for both men and women to admit that they're average because that's uncomfortable. And we talked a lot about the conditioning that goes on, but let's look at Brittany Renner. She's not special. Most people aren't special, but then she was special enough to be able to finesse a man out of child support for the next 18 years.
Yeah, right.
So there's something to be said about her skill of finesse, but maybe she's not getting the validation for personal fulfillment. She's got the financial fulfillment, but now that wall's going to creep up on her. But there's lots of reasons that I would say women don't trust men, if you don't mind me kind of pivoting over there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, men are painted as wildly incompetent.
Yes.
On all media programs. One of the best things that my fiance ever showed me was all of the engagement ring ads. If you watch them, in each ad, the man is painted as a bumbling buffoon who is just trying to appease a strong woman through a ring. And we see this programming. It's also going to be in movies, and it's going to be in social media as well. So why would we trust men if we all think that they're idiots? Because basically what we're being told as women, and this will be from university and then it'll also be from media, is that they're either horny or stupid. So who wants to follow a man's leadership from that?
Yeah.
So those are some thoughts that I had in terms of exceptions to rules. Exceptions are for exceptional people. So I was watching a video from Priyanka Chopra. She is with Nick Jonas. They're married. She's 39. She's about to have her first child, I believe, through a surrogate. But I came across a video that she had on Instagram where she was saying that a man should not be your financial plan, that women have to be financially independent. And I'm sitting here thinking that's a really easy thing for her to say from her financial position where she can afford things. Like a surrogate, where most women cannot. So I tell women often to just clean up your social media diet, that what we feed our eyes is sometimes way more important than what we feed our stomachs, because we get caught up in it. I think social media is primarily appealing to women. For men, I'm not sure that they struggle in that same way. But for women, I've noticed that it's a huge issue, because you can go around on a college campus. Sure, there's men looking at their phones, but I see women much more glued to it, and they're struggling. Even when you're in class, you'll be in front of a professor and you have some chick on her phone and she gets upset when you tell her to get off of it. So those are some insights that I would have on that kind of subject.
Wow, very good. Excellent answer about the fact that social media is designed for women. Devin, let me get your take on this, because we are in a long-term cohabitating relationship, and I tell you that you're not special all the time. So from within this, how do you feel? What does that do to you when I tell you, Deb, I love you very much, but you're not special? What does that cause?
Well, luckily I was born in a time when not everybody got a trophy. So,
and an ice cream sandwich.
Yeah, there are winners and losers, baby.
That's right.
And I've always been pretty like B plus, somewhere in the middle, upper middle average, in life, period. So in my, no one is special. Like Brittany took offense to that because she internalizes that everyone is special. And so that's why she immediately flipped it to Myron saying, well, what's special about you? Right. So, and he's just like, dude, I live in reality. Like there is a median here. So, I think that women are trying to be like everything to everyone, and they're trying to be special, like out of the box, when really being special is cultivated with each individual that is in your life.
Right.
So, when I met you, I didn't have anything special, so to speak, of, physically.
That ass, though.
Well,
that ass.
I had to get your attention somehow. but what I think what set me apart from the others was doing things that other women never even thought about doing.
Yep.
And these are just things that came naturally to me, and I didn't really realize it at the time. I didn't have this like grand scheme to like, I'm gonna seduce Donovan, but just small things along the way. Always being happy to hear from you, answering your text back immediately.
Sure.
Sending you treats and putting things together when you would go on trips and stuff like that. And just making sure that you were taken care of, whether you were taking care of yourself or not. And I remember I would be more excited for you to get those things than I think you were to get them.
Yeah. Because I'd be like, wait, I haven't picked up your pack. They're like, pick up, go get it. Yeah. All right.
So, yeah. So I think those type of things. And also it's not necessarily who you like, what you quote unquote bring to the table that makes you special to a man. I think it's how you share experiences with a man that sets you apart.
Okay.
So it's like what they say, people will never remember what you said. They'll remember how you made them feel or something like that.
Yeah.
So, if you make a man feel like he's the priority and he is your priority and you're always putting him first, given other, things in your life that need to be taken care of are taken care of. No man wants you to sacrifice you paying your bills to give him attention type of thing.
Right.
But if you make him feel like he's number one, you will become special to him because you are treating him like no one else can. And that's just something, and the intangibles, I believe, is what special is in this regard. And that's really what's most important to bring to the table.
And you remember when you and I first started talking and dating non-exclusively, you knew, like, I would send you pictures of other girls sending me nudes. Like, I'd be like, hey, send me. Yeah, you remember Daphne and Dinar and all those other.
Yeah, man, that left quite an impression on me. I remember, I don't want to get into too many details, but
sure. But why did it leave an impression on you?
Because you would just say to like these girls, like, hey, I want you to do this. And they would boom, immediately do it. And I would be like, holy. And then I was like, all right. If I was hesitant to do it, like maybe there's a lot of other people who are willing to go ahead. So maybe I just need to set my reservations aside and go with the flow. So
very good. Excellent. Tallulah, what do you have on this?
Yeah, I had something, but I just wanted to just quickly comment on what Devon said about where she said that she was more excited to get for you to get the treats or whatever it is she had arranged for you. And I really, really get that. And it's so true that actually sometimes when we're not putting ourselves on the pedestal and, thinking we're the special one and we're just being selfless and giving to the guy that we really love, it's our sense of like fulfillment. That's our sense of happiness. For me, it is anyway. And, again, like at finishing school, what we were talking about the other day is, we were taught it is all about how to leave that impression and how you make that other person feel. That was the whole point of the course, is about how you make other people feel. But just sort of going back to the first question on this, on, realizing that you're not special and why do people think they're special? I actually have a mentor. I've been with her probably a couple of years now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And yeah. Now, it isn't what you think, right? She's in her late 70s. She's almost 80.
Okay.
We have a lot of shared experiences around, bereavements and things like that. But she actually was around when the feminist movement. And, and what's amazing about her is she actually is more feminist than feminine by far. And I can kind of tease her around that, and that's fine. She accepts me for who I am and I accept her for who she is. But she still, she's able to direct me in the right ways. Like, if there's like something that's bothering me, it might not be to do with my relationship, but it could be something else. Or I could be getting like annoyed with something or someone. She will always be like, and this is why I picked her to be my mentor. She will always say to me like, well, that's great, but like, why are you so special?
Wow.
Or like, and she's really got that like divide with that. We're very, very different, yet very, very the same. And I think having a mentor is really, really important. It's someone that you can phone up and say, look, I'm thinking about doing this, or I'm making this decision, or whatever, especially female to female.
Yeah.
And you need someone that's going to tell you the damn truth.
Yeah.
Right. And she will say to me, like, okay, but haven't you thought about it this way? Or how about you just leave that and don't say anything? Or, and she's I think that's a really good thing for women to have, but you have to be, there's not enough open-minded people out there to say, actually, yeah, I do need someone to put me in my place a little bit. I do want someone to talk stuff over before making decisions. And this is why there's just so much like chaos in the world.
Let me ask you this, Tallulah, because you mentioned something that a lot of men and women need, and that is mentorship. Before we go to the next topic, what do you suggest? The 20-something, the girl in her early 20s is saying, okay, I watched this show. I know that feminism is clearly not good for me, but I am having trouble finding a mentor, because as we all know, older women, for whatever reason, don't want to help younger women. It's almost like they purposely lead women astray, even though they did everything that they should not have done, and they're single with their 8 cats and boxed wine. They tell these girls, yeah, live life to the fullest, find yourself in this and that. How should a woman go about finding a mentor who's actually going to shoot her straight and give her good sound advice?
I think it's about, like, I mean, if there's any women watching this, I mean, you have 3 women here, right? Whichever one that you identify with, or you think, do you know what? I want what she has, or I want to feel like that. That is the person that you want to be contacting, or even the person that you think at first, oh my gosh, I don't like you, because that's usually something that you can see in yourself.
Of course.
Like, and I think that would be the best way about going for it. And especially if there's a girl in her 20s that perhaps has more identification with Ali. Ali's in her 20s. She's a great person. I see Ali's stuff online, and she's firm but loving. Right. It's not about someone, it's being, firm and all of those things all the time. But it's, someone that's firm and loving, but they're truthful with you. They're not going to sit there and go, don't worry, it's all fine how it is. You just stay how you are. You want to say, well, actually, haven't you thought about it this way? Or, how about we have a cup of tea and think about this? How about, be loving with it, but tell them straight, and that they feel, sometimes as a woman, we just want to go to someone, whether it's our partner or it's a girlfriend, and just say, I know I'm being silly, thinking about this. What should I do? And you almost want someone to put you in your place and say, this is what I think you should do, and this is why, and have you thought about it this way? I think it is so important for every person out there, not only women, men as well, men more than women, to have a mentor, especially with broken homes and all these things now. No one has, mum and dad don't seem to be anywhere to be seen, or they're not the right figures. But women watching this, we also have Pearl here, but we all 3 women here would be more than happy to help you out with whoever you think, I like what you have.
Okay, very good, man. Very, very good answer. So I'm going to read the super chats, and then we're going to Ali actually made a very good suggestion on a topic.
I want to answer that question.
Oh, you want to answer the question? Okay. What you got, Dev?
I have a different take on mentorship.
Okay. Okay.
My parents are still married, so I don't have the broken home type of scenario. So of course you want to look towards family, even more than your own parents, because odds are 50% of them are divorced.
Yeah, you got that right.
If you have grandparents that are still together, talk to them. Talk to them about what things were like when they first met, when they got married, how was their household run, and things like that. Now let's be real. Like, we're in an age now where we don't really talk to our family all that much. Everything is media. So on that route, I just want to say that, and Janelle says this all the time, you create your own reality.
Yeah.
So you can actually cultivate influence just by what you're reading, watching, and who you're following. So, for example, if you read a book and there are several books out there that you can read some books and find characters that you want to emulate after that are very feminine, that are very
Wow.
successful in their marriage. Now I know it's fiction,
Sure.
but isn't it all, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
same thing with like watching old movies and studying how these women treat men. You can pick up a lot of little tips and etiquette and things like that that are kind of a lost art these days.
Kind of like the Bronte sisters, right? Wuthering Heights, and then F. Scott
yeah.
Fitzgerald, The
I
Great
mean,
Gatsby.
yeah, there's a ton. I mean, I love science fiction, so I have
Yes,
a lot
you
of
do.
characters in like Robert Heinlein's books that
That explains you're crazy.
yes, yes. But I mean, you know, the fact that he was a writer in the 50s,
Sure.
60s, and 70s, the women are actually very deferent to men.
Sure.
And, you know, while they have their own strong personalities, they always have they put their family first and their priorities are straight. So it's, I've learned a lot, and I like reading from a man's perspective. And that, you know, kind of brings me to one more point. The social media, you can cultivate this type of thing, this influence of having positive females to look up to in social media, but you do have to kind of balance it because everything you see pretty much on social media, there's going to be a dark side to it.
Yeah, a lot of ass.
Well, no, I'm just talking about things like the okay baby thing. Like you can't model your life after other people present on social media because you're not getting the whole picture.
Right.
At least with books and movies, you're kind of getting the full story. But ideally, the best mentor for me has been Donovan. So I would never know what a man wanted unless he told me. And I never knew what was okay and what wasn't okay with a type of man that he is until he told me. So those first couple of things, and this kind of leads into our next topic, is, you know, those type of things kind of made me go readjust my behavior and readjust my habits, my subconscious thinking of like a lifetime of just, this is just the way it is.
Yeah. Right.
And to
it was a learning curve for sure.
It took a couple years, to be honest, to weed out some of the bad behaviors that I didn't even realize I had and see things more through a man's perspective, a man who cares about me, a man who, you know, wants me to show my best side all the time. And so a lot of people are just lazy. They don't want to show their best side all the time. And it's not made for them.
Nope.
You know, so you kind of got to find someone who you're on the same page with. But if you really, really want to push yourself and become the best version of yourself, you have to find also a man who does the same. And if your mentor is female, she's got to be the same way as well. She's got to say, okay, this is good. Let's be great.
Okay, good. Very well said. Kevin Whaley with the $5 super chat says, get them likes up. King Life. This is very funny. He says, with every like, you save a girl from getting kicked out of man's house. I like that a lot. J Blaze 11, $2 says, Tallulah, the Twitter assassin. Yes. Yo, she went right to your boy and said, hey, like, man, what are we doing? Yeah, that was funny as hell, dude. She went right to the source. I think those are the only super chats as of right now. Okay, so Allie, you mentioned a very, very good topic to discuss, and we'll start with you. Tell me or tell us the story about when you discovered, when you figured out, when you had that aha moment, wait a minute, I'm not special.
I want to talk about that, but I also have to add on to Devin talking about watching old movies with the masculine and the feminine dynamic. I love old movies, and some of my feminine journey was definitely watching some of those films. There is nothing more red-pilled than Casablanca. When you watch how she ruins her opportunity with a good man, you can't go back. My man and I have watched it together. He loves it. So definitely watch that if you're a woman and you're trying to figure out, well, am I going to get burned if I do whatever I want? Yes, you can lose out on a good man. Give it a look-see.
You don't want a guy that here's looking at you, kid, before he leaves your life forever. Shout out to Victor Laszlo.
You know it. So how I realized I wasn't special was the military. But most of my life, I was just walking around aimless, not very self-aware. For example, I was fat in high school and I had no idea. And then I would end up with low-quality men. And I was perplexed at why this was happening. But in any case, in the military, when women act like princesses, they don't get respect because it's true. You're enlisted. What makes you so special? Because you're a woman? Because the military, as much as there are accommodations for women, the men don't care and they don't like it right?
No
and they
shit.
can't necessarily no. If you were a pretty
Allie,
princess,
We out here, we civilians, we're under the impression that women are coddled in the military by men. We're under the impression that they're like, oh, you're a woman, we're gonna simp and we're gonna make sure you have a great time. And you're telling me that is not the case?
well, women are going to be hypergamous by nature, even if they're in the military. So the simps, they don't necessarily matter because we're still going for men of higher status. But yeah, there are a lot of men that just saunter around women. It's true, there's a bit of desperation there. But if you want respect and you're a smart woman in the military, you learn to kind of man up a little bit. That's why your femininity gets put on the back burner. A lot of the most feminine women you'll see in the military are actually officers, but they have a different workload. So
Okay.
I would hear from these male mentors that I looked up to how they were just tired of that stank behavior. Why do you feel so privileged in the United States Army? And that was something that clued me in. And I started wondering, am I looking at myself in a way that I am not actually who I think I am? How do I look to the public? So I ended up, toward the end of my career, I actually got burnt out. That happens to a lot of women. The military may never admit this, but most women get burned out on their first contract and they book it. And some of them can't even finish. Some of them get chaptered, which means that you're separated, not necessarily in a bad way, but just not the optimal way. But that happens to most women. So I was hearing all of this from male mentors. I started looking at myself. And then one day I had to get taped. So for those of you that don't know, the military measures your body. But if you step on a scale and you're within the weight limit, then you don't need to have your hips, your waist, and your, I can't recall. It's definitely a hip measurement for women. For men, they've got different places that they'll tape, which they're using a body measuring tape. So before I could just step on a scale and I met the weight requirement, but then I had to start getting taped. And that was embarrassing because I was overweight and I started realizing, oh my God, I am your average American woman. And I was losing respect in my workplace because I was a female NCO. Imagine being a leader, but then being nearly obese. So I started.
By the way, an NCO is a non-commissioned officer for those of you who are sort of new to the whole military. I know about this stuff because I was raised in a military family, but go ahead.
Yes, they're basically a supervisor. So I would have men underneath me. I was a medical evacuation NCO, just fancy way of saying that I could drive an ambulance. But I realized I was quite large, and I had to lose that weight. So I started losing the weight, and then I started getting more respect. So that's how I realized that I wasn't special and that I was your average, overweight, nearly obese American woman. And it's been something that has truly been life-changing for me because I didn't even see my body. I had no idea that I was fat. So it opened up a lot for me.
Fantastic. Wow, what a story. Tallulah, tell us the story or the realization where you realize, wait a minute, I'm not special. I actually have to work to get the attention of the men that I want to be attractive to.
Oh my gosh, I have so much to share on this one. I don't know why I'm laughing because it wasn't funny at the time. Quickly before I share on that, another film, a Red Pill film, is The Other Boleyn Girl. It's about Henry VIII.
Oh, Anne Boleyn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me and my friend watch it all the time. It's like our movie, and we always say, "Oh, she's you," and the other one's me, and yeah, it was just like.
Yes.
That's Red Pill 101.
Okay.
So, my first time I realized I was told that like by my grandmother, massively loved me. She was the love of my life. And she would always tell me like how special I was. And I was just quite happy with grandma. And unfortunately, grandma passed. So I was, I guess a bit lost without her. But when I was 17, this is when I first got it. This is when I understood everything. And I believe it was when I was fully red pilled and I understood how things went on. I was 17. I hung out with lots of friends in my area. And then this group of guys that was like hanging out with us, because like back then when you were 17, right, everyone would go outdoors and hang out. Cool. That was the thing. With no social media. And and like these boys would like always bully me, and they basically would like say to everyone how ugly I was, and that I wasn't like, I was never the girl that was like picked to be a girlfriend or anything like that. And I I went to the opticians with my dad, like I think it was like a month later. And this is like, I'm being really, really badly bullied, not by the girls, but by the guys. And I went and got contact lenses. And at 17, you know, I had the most amazing body. I had everything else apart from like my face just was not right for these guys. It just wasn't. And I got these contact lenses and I went out that day and all the guys were just like asked me to be their girlfriend.
Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they were like, oh, actually, you're actually really good looking. And all like the other girls were left. All these guys were like, I just had inundated male attention. And I wasn't interested in any of them, which was like a good thing, I think. But it was it was a really, really hard time. But I got it very, very early on that my looks mattered. And always from that day, I never, ever like faltered all the time. When you have that kind of energy in your early 20s, I was dressed up, makeup, hair extensions, nails, looking the best that I could because I really understood people respect and value me due to how I'm looking. And I was 17. Right. It wasn't like I was, you know, cream of the crop, right? I was like, you know, best years of your life. And then, so all through like my early teens, early 20s, I never like gained weight. Like I just never had that problem. So I'd never suffered with any weight problems. And then there's this guy that I really, really like loved when I was 24. And I did notice that sort of at that age, the weight was starting to come. And in our like family, it only goes to the waist, unfortunately. It doesn't go anywhere else. And I kind of thought, oh, I'd look a bit bigger, but I didn't think it was that bad. And he said to me like, oh, yeah, your bottoms like don't like fit, do they? I think you should get some like other ones. And he wasn't like horrible about it. He was just telling me a fact. And you don't understand how quick I had to lose that weight. I just wanted to keep him. I was like, yeah. And a lot of people, you know, if I told them those stories, immediately women would say to me, but you were worth more. It doesn't matter about what was on your face. I've had therapists, you know, say that to me. But it's the reality, sorry, but it is. So that was my first time. It was horrible. It was harsh. But it was the best thing to ever happen to me at the same time because I wasn't deluded.
Yeah.
At a young age, I got it.
Wow, very man, oh man. It's interesting how it was sort of the opposite at first. You got the contact lenses and all of a sudden you're inundated with male attention. Then at 24, you start to pack on the pounds. You realized, oh, okay, I need to make that change. And it's good that this happened to you very, 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 very early. Dev, tell us the story where you figured out that you weren't special.
Let's see. I'm 45 years old. I don't think, and I think like I've eaten so many doses of reality at this point that I can't even remember a time when I thought I was special. I've never thought that there was anything tremendously different or great about myself.
Okay.
I just, you know, I've always just tried to like.
Now, some would characterize that as low self-esteem. Is that what that was?
No.
Okay.
I like to do what I like to do, but I'm not, you know, I've always been pretty realistic.
Sure.
You know, like I've never been that girl. But I don't know. I just don't ever really think that I was really high up on my horse and had to get knocked down a few pegs.
Okay.
The only couple of times where I was like a stupid example was I had just bought my first car. I was 18.
The Eagle Talon.
The Eagle Talon.
Yes.
Dude, this car was so cool. I worked my butt off for 2 years to buy this car.
All right.
I'm working minimum wage, like $4 an hour type stuff. And, you know, so by the time I turned 18, I had enough money saved up to buy a car. And I was so proud of this car. I put like punk rock stickers on the back. And I remember like, I thought I was the, you know.
Thought you were the hot shit.
I was the stuff, you know.
Yeah, right.
And I guess I was annoying people about it. And so I remember it was Valentine's Day. And I went to The Edge in Fort Lauderdale is this club. Bad Religion was playing on Valentine's Day as my favorite band. So I get there. I'm like the first one in the parking lot. I park right up front. I'm ready. And after the show, I came back out and someone had thrown like huge rocks at my car. Like the windshield was busted in, the roof was dented in, like huge, like concrete.
Wow.
Concrete.
You've never told me about that before.
And yeah, so I was like, oh my God, you know, like whatever. Call my parents, you know, file a police report. And then I drive home with a busted windshield.
Yeah,
Probably not the greatest idea, but how else was I going to
get
get
it
home
somehow? Yeah.
And so, yeah, I got it fixed. But later I found out that it was people that I knew who did it.
Wow.
And I was asked, do you want to know who did it? And I said, nope, I really don't, because it would break my heart. And I really knew, like, hey, you know what? You think you're high up on that horse a little bit just because you got a cute car, you know, like, or roll it back a little bit. You're pissing people off. So, and that was a really early lesson for me, is to just kind of keep it chill. So, you know, I always try to see things from other people's other point of view now, you know, and kind of like be more reflective than, you know, glaring. So yeah, that's a stupid story, but it doesn't have to do with any exes or sex. So that's
or that, not that you know of, because it might have been your ex-boyfriend who fucked up your car.
No, it was probably someone I friend zoned, to be honest. I was pretty good at it back then.
Yeah. Oh no, really?
Yeah.
You don't say. Real quick, before we go to Allie, so when you and I started talking, I used to tell you all the time, probably a little bit too much, but hey, it is what it is. I used to tell you all the time, you're not special, and you're this and you're that, and I've had some pretty one-sided rants towards you. And after a while, you seem to get used to it, which I guess, for better or worse, I suppose is good. But when I still do that at times, just to make sure that you, just to make sure, because we're in a great relationship, but I never want you to get comfortable at all. You can be comfortable in that, you know, I'm going to be there for you, provided you continue doing what you're doing. But what goes through your mind when I'm in one of my tirades, when I pull up that gray chair, I tell you to mute the TV, I pull up that gray chair because we got to talk.
A couple of things. I grew up with a pretty strong father who would almost be the same way.
Shout out to Barry.
And so I don't want to say I'm used to getting yelled at, but
You're used to getting yelled at.
I'm used to people who express themselves that way.
Okay.
So like I knew, like, when like my parents were yelling at me, they're not trying to hurt me. They're trying to get through to me. So maybe if I shut up and just listen, maybe it would actually get through.
What?
So, you know, at first, when you were like that, it was I immediately tried to push back. No.
And how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, not so good. And then when I started to listen and just say, okay, this is how he's feeling, whether I feel the same way or not isn't what matters right now. What matters is he's expressing to me how he feels. I need to listen to it and decide if it's important enough to me to change my behavior so that he doesn't feel that way any longer. So it was more a matter of not saying like he's yelling at me because I'm a bad person, I did something wrong, there's something wrong with me, blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen. What happens is, it's okay. He's expressing his needs. I can listen and I can respect them, or I can just end this right now. You know, if this is too much for me, then maybe it's time.
And I used to tell you that all the time. I'm like, look, check this out. I mean, yeah, you got tears in your eyes. Listen, you just let me know. You let me know if it's too much for you, because this is not. I
feel lucky that you are strong enough to tell me what you feel and what you will agree with and disagree with, rather than keeping it in and harboring, and then, you know, this resentment that seeps out of the edges.
That does not happen.
Because that becomes very toxic very quickly.
Yep.
You know, a lot of women say, oh my God, he yells at you, he's abusive, he's got to get out of this relationship. But the truth is that if he's yelling at you, he still cares about you.
That's right. That's right. And listen, you say it, when I stop yelling, when I stop when I stop all these crazy reactions,
that's when I worry.
That's when you need to worry. Okay, very good. Allie said you had a spicy story.
Right. I forgot about how the real reason I ended up.
Oh, here we go.
Some things happen at the same time, and so you forget. My ex-husband told me he used to carry me to bed all the time. I would say, hey, you know, pick me up, because I thought that was cute and I loved to be carried to bed. And then he eventually just stopped doing it. And I asked him, like, why don't you carry me to bed anymore? And he looked at me and he was like, well, you're kind of heavy right now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I forgot about that. There's a lot of red pill men out there that they don't have that label of red pill, because I got so much male mentorship in the military. If I threw that away, I would still been a hot mess. So that definitely catapulted me into the weight loss. But then eventually, after I lost the weight, I just found out that fitness made me feel better, which is another thing. People kept telling me, why don't you eat clean? Why don't you work out? And I wasn't really trying to hear it, because women, I think, I wonder if we were just naturally hard-headed. I'm not sure. But eventually I gave it a try. So I would say my cognitive distortion wasn't necessarily that I viewed myself so much higher, but that I just didn't know that I was average. And because of that, because I had been so average for so long, even though I was intellectual, I ended up improving. And still, I'm probably a touch too humble about the quality of person that I am, because I talk to my fiance all the time about, oh, I could do better, I could do this, I could do that. And he's like, hold on, wait a minute. You're actually doing some quite exceptional things. Have you looked at it this way? And that helps me sometimes to realize that I am on the right path and that I am seeing results. My fiance too, he was my mentor before. And he would have some real red pill discussions with me too. So there was a time as well, I would say, where I was complaining about my family, constantly complaining about them. And he told me, why do you talk to them? They sound abusive. And that stayed with me forever. Probably the reason why we're together today. So just listening to the men around you, they're telling you some gems. They might not be able to package it in quite a way that's digestible to women, but look at the truth of the matter. I think a lot of women get caught up in the connotations in the language. For example,
when you say it.
Yes. Well, when you and the boys on the 6, when y'all are talking, you call women bees sometimes. And women, they hear that word and they just shut off and they reboot. No, just listen to the actual information first before you just throw away the discussion, because Hotep is very crass. But if you just listen to the words, he's dropping some gems.
He is. Hotep is as raw as it gets, but he's probably, like, cerebrally, he's probably the smartest guy on the panel for sure. Tallulah, let me ask you. Oh,
didn't Hotep say if you want to keep a woman, cheat on her?
Oh yeah, he said I cheat. He says I cheat because I love you. Yeah. I cheat because I love you. Yeah, that was some next shit. I was like, oh, yo, educate me. That was crazy. He had the shit-eating grin on his face. Tallulah, why don't women trust men?
You threw that at me. I think there could, you know what, every woman could be different. It could be, men often lie to women, and not in a bad way, but in a way to get what they want. So a lot of men will tell, like, for example, this whole thing of male friends, which I see absolutely no point in women having. But a male friend is, I actually did a video on it, how like male friends and male feminists are actually basically undercover incels.
Okay.
And that they are actually really dangerous people, because they're not actually, they're sitting there waiting for you to maybe have a relationship with them, get with them, whatever it is, when they're just going to sit there and be like, no, I'm your friend and I really care about you, when actually that isn't the truth. And a lot of women are aware of this subconsciously. They know that this is not the truth. So that, I would definitely say, is why, one of the reasons why women don't trust men. And obviously the media always says don't trust men. Men are abusive. You know, it's very rare that they let the stories on TV of or on the news of domestic violence and same-sex female relationships. Or we've only ever had one story in the UK of a woman that locked her boyfriend up in a cupboard and starved him. You know, that it's actually happening more than the media give it, and it's always about misogyny. At the moment, there's loads of stuff with the government with misogyny, and you know, again, it's feeding into that I'm special again. And women are hard done by. So That's probably why.
Before I go to Allie with this, I saw in the chat a little bit earlier, one reason why women don't trust men, just like Tallulah said in the media, not only do they overtly and directly paint us as either rapists or buffoons, they do it subconsciously. And the best example I can come up with, and I don't know if you guys get these commercials in the UK, Tallulah, is the M&M's commercials. Because I just watched so M&M just released this new brownie M&M or whatever, and the red and the yellow M&M are sitting there they're in this high rise and they're sitting together on the couch, and he's like, oh, so you put brownies in M&M. Oh, that is. And then the intelligent woman with the glasses sitting in the psychiatrist chair says, genius. And then they cut to the yellow M&M trying to get a brownie into an M&M, and there's brownie batter all over the place, and why won't you go in? Those kinds of things, along with Peter Griffin, Homer Simpson, Phil Dunphy. Men are constantly, and we talked about this earlier, but we are constantly painted in the media, both directly and indirectly, as these mindless buffoons who think about nothing but sex and are good for nothing but our money and our sperm. So on that note, Allie, why do you think women have an inherent distrust for men?
I have an answer, but I want to go back to what you just said, because I'm starting to wonder, why aren't they more realistic about women's contributions to society? I'm starting to think that they're trying to protect our egos, because the data and the statistics do not support that men are buffoons. Because if you look around at the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math, men are straight up killing it. I'm telling you, I can't name one thing that a woman invented. Well, I know a woman invented the chocolate chip cookie recipe. I know that was a thing. That we did.
Oh, but hey, whatever woman invented the chocolate chip cookie, give her the Nobel Prize.
That's what I'm saying. But maybe it doesn't feel good when you talk to women and you let them know, hey, you haven't actually done much innovation in the world. But that's only because they've diminished the value of a woman's reproduction, because that is equally important to the innovation. But as for women not trusting men, let me just say, it's your mama, because she is the primary caregiver. And if you learn to be mistrustful of her, that is going to leak into your relationship. That's mostly what I see. There's things like single mother homes, but there's also married women who are not with their first choice. And so how much can a young girl really trust her mom if her mom isn't living a quality life? Whew. That will set you to distrust essentially the world. I know that is where a lot of my trust that I don't have with men is because I could not even trust my mother when I was young. So I was suspicious of everybody. To this day, I'm still a little bit too suspicious, but I'm learning more and more to be trusting, because in general, to be honest, men are nice. They're nice and they're helpful. And as long as you maintain boundaries and self-respect, it's all good and gravy. I don't even get sexually harassed. And I don't think it's because I'm horrendous looking. I think it's because I carry myself different.
Right.
Those are my thoughts.
Okay, very good. Dev, why don't women trust men?
I think trusting or not trusting is a learned behavior.
Whew, wow. So, hold up. Yup. Dropping those gems. Keep it going.
It could be from example, your home life, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It could also just be your experience. Now, if you have poor judgment and you are selecting men who are untrustworthy, of course you're going to grow up and just inherently not trust men. If you have a prominent male figure in your life who's like, for example, if your dad cheats on your mom, or, if someone in your life really lets the family down, you're going to have an inherent mistrust in men until proven otherwise.
Right.
And so, but there are plenty of women out there who have great dads who are trusting until they get screwed over, right?
Mm-hmm,
and this is a lesson in life. Everybody, men and women, have to learn this.
Of course.
So what you need to start doing is cultivating a sense of judgment, basically judgment of character, judgment and observation. I mean, you've got to pay attention. And I believe once you start trusting yourself to make good decisions, then you can start actually trusting that others are making good decisions, because you have the knowledge to understand what's going on. You can see clearly rather than just going on blind faith. So, you can be trusting or you can be distrustful.
Mhm.
It's really how you choose to approach it.
Okay.
But I think how you approach both is the same skills that are involved. It's just a matter of how you want to come at the problem.
Why do you trust me?
You have proven yourself over and over and over again that your judgment is much better than mine.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
and you have yet to let me down. So, if there comes a point where I'm like, I'm not sure what to do, and I ask you, you give me an answer, the answer's always worked out great. So you've never given me a reason not to trust you. And I find that I trust myself more when I'm following your lead. So.
Okay. Very good. Good answer. Tallulah, you had something to add?
Yeah, definitely. Just on the subject of what both the girls have said and how it is just someone else's experience, right? It's like, I have a friend and we both volunteer as psychotherapists for a charity. That's what we.
Wow.
Yeah. We are very close. We're really good friends, but there's certain things where I think because of our job and also because of she's a very open-minded girl, but her experience of her family life was her father was unfortunately an alcoholic. He passed away. He would beat her mother. The mother was kind of on her own with the children. There was no, he was completely out of frame. He was completely out of control. Her grandfather did the same to her grandma. I couldn't believe it. And this was in Romania. She's Romanian.
Okay.
And my experience is obviously very different. My dad was amazing. Like, he was a great father. Mum and dad were together. He was head of the household, but it worked. Right. And I think that when I'm, with regards to the relationships that both of us are in now, she will completely open-mindedly listen to me when I'm telling her things. But there's moments where she says, but don't you just want that independence? Because if you do this, you could lose everything. And I'm like, but that's your experience.
Yes.
That's what you have seen. That is not my experience. My mum, she luckily was in a position where she had me, she had my brother. Her job was looking after us two and my dad. That was her full-time job, full on. And she completely trusted my dad. My dad wasn't going to throw her out on the street. And she's kind of saying to me, like, don't you think you should have something where you're independent of him? And she's not understanding it, but she's willing to listen, which is great. That's why we're friends. But it was funny because on I think it was the first panel all of us did together. She's really supportive of everything I'm doing with the channel. She said, even though I don't agree with it, I'm supportive. And she tuned in and she said, oh, the girl that's with the guy that's doing the channel, I just couldn't watch anymore because she said something and he just didn't get it. And I was like, well, what did she say? And he was like, I think Devin had said something like, oh, I would think through everything that we've been through, something. I know it was something along those lines. And you said something back, yes, on the conditions of whatever. And it was just common sense to all of us. Right. And she just said, and she was absolutely brokenhearted for Devin and just thought Devin was completely, just had no life. And she was really upset for Devin. I was like, no, I was trying to explain to her, trust me, Devin is so happy. They're a really happy couple. They're really nice. Everything. And she just
really feels that bad. She could donate to the channel and help save me.
Yes, that's it.
Right. And this is just from her experience. And we can always back this off each other. That is your experience. That is not mine. I have no idea what it would be like to see my father beating my mother or my granddad beating my grandma. That's I'm so sad she's been through that, but her experience, not mine.
No,
and it's funny how things shape us, and it's funny how things shape us today. And obviously, we see a lot of women, in the charity, and we hear this again and again and again, and it is like Devin said, learned behaviors that are always going to be there, but women can make a change if they're just aware of it. That's all it is just having the awareness. And yeah, anyway, I'm not going to go into that.
No. Very, very good story. Jay Blaze 11 says, I remember hearing a story of someone, I'm spacing on the name, who resented Gwyneth Paltrow because she had a great dad growing up. That's very interesting. Second to last question for the panel. Why do women, and I'll start with Allie here, why do women diminish feminine roles and contribution? Because you just said, and I agree, women don't really contribute much in STEM, but that's okay because that's not where women are supposed to excel. And feminism is what feminism has shown me, just observing it, from a distance, is that feminism is really that's male superiority. Because feminism glorifies masculine roles. And when you glorify masculine roles and diminish feminine roles, it's almost like a self-fulfilling hatred prophecy. Feminism is really not, we all know feminism isn't good for women, but it really is anti-women. So why is it that women only glorify masculine traits in women rather than saying, hey, you know what, you're a stay-at-home mom, you're pretty fucking gangster for that?
There's going to be two things. There's that baseline indoctrination, which I'll explain. And then the second thing, once you realize that the jig is up, but you don't want to let your girlfriends know that you got by the system. So you stay quiet about it and you continue to promote this masculine stuff. I'm in college right now, and we can also look at the enrollment rates in college. Women are usually 2 to 1 in comparison to men. And what these young women are being told, it's very subversive, that men are inherently oppressive. You can't depend on them. You can't trust them, because that's the first thing, is that they're oppressive. Well, if they're oppressive, then you can't trust them. And these young women that are dating in college, they have such cognitive dissonance because they're dating men, even though they have been taught that they're inherently oppressive. So that baseline indoctrination, these young girls are afraid to have children. They think that if you have a child, that your professional life is over. I'm not particularly sure where that's coming from, because I've seen women do multiple things and multitask and succeed admirably at it. But I hear these young girls who are talking about in class, I think last week, if anybody wanted to be a parent. And these women were saying, well, hopefully that's far off and later, hopefully not anytime soon. What is so terrifying about having a child? There's this movement called antinatalism, where basically in the West, we're probably very anti-kid, because you start getting you get educated some more as a young woman, 18 or 19, young and impressionable in college. Mm-hmm. And what do you hear? That your existence on this earth in general is problematic because it's a carbon footprint, that you as a human are a pollutant. And that if you were to have a child, then you'd be contributing to this problem where they have this apocalyptic view of climate change, right? And I can definitely get into these subjects later. So anyhow, that's how you start off as a woman. Because most of us, I don't know that most of us are going to college. I know it's 30% of the U.S. population. But like I said, women are outnumbering men. And it's very easy for us to get scholarships. And we end up going into these less challenging fields just because it makes us feel good. So once you hit from 30 to 35, the jig is up. The jig is up, and you might know it. You might text your best friend on the side, maybe, if you even feel confident to share that. But then it would be humiliating to admit to other women that boss babe culture did you in, that you were dumb enough to not see the larger game at play, which was to sell you out, to make you a worker, to make a corporation happy. It has nothing to do with your value as a woman at all. Oh goodness. So let me think here. The jig is up. It's embarrassing. Yes. So the woman that wrote Sex and the City, she came out and she said that she felt very badly about the propaganda that she was pushing on women, and even there was a female writer of Cosmo, I believe, as well. So these women, they do come out, but then what are they met with? Raging feminists. No, you got it wrong. You just misinterpreted the movement. That's not how it is. When really, let's look at these women with some respect. They're 50 or 60 years old, coming back to tell you that they made some mistakes. Like, why don't you open your ears a little bit? Just see what they have to say. And like I said, having a child is not the end of the world. And you can always get a job. You can always get an education, but you cannot always have a child. If you want to shoot for IVF, amazing. Then get you a high value man who's going to pay for it, because you most likely are not going to be able to afford it. Most women are making less than $75,000 a year. Just got to wake these women up.
Wow. Hold on. I got to give you a done to Marco for that, man. Holy cannoli. Yeah, what you're talking about is Candace Bushnell. Candace Bushnell was regretful. She said, "Hey, man, all these years I spent, doing Sex in the City," and Candace Bushnell was actually quite attractive when she was that age. Um, unfortunately for her, she wasted her prime years misleading women into thinking that the Sex in the City lifestyle was the thing to do. And I forgot what the woman's name was because Kevin Samuels and I we did a podcast about the writer of Subversive. And what she talked about, this is exactly what we're talking about. She was a writer for Cosmopolitan magazine, and she admitted that they made these stories up. Sue Ellen Browder, thank you, Bryce Friday. Sue Ellen Browder said, "Yeah, we were making up stories about about the Sex in the City lifestyle and packaging it as though this were the norm and healthy." So she admitted to purposely leading women astray, and then, of course, later on, now that we all know the truth, of course, Sue Ellen Browder came out and said, "Hey, yeah, this is kind of what I did." The book is called Subversive. There's the article on your screen. Second in the City writer Candace Bushnell, who is 60, admits she regrets choosing a career over having children and that she is now truly alone. Candace Bushnell has a net worth into the 8 figures now, but guess what? She is absolutely still miserable. Go ahead. You said you had another tidbit for us, Allie. Go ahead.
Yes, this is what I mean by this baseline indoctrination, how it's in the media. I remembered being 13, probably a little bit younger, because I used to watch Sex and the City behind my mom's back on HBO. But also, I just didn't have that many involved parents. But I remembered being on the edge of my seat where, was Carrie Bradshaw going to settle down with Mr. Big, or was she going to be this boss babe hitting up Pilates, getting her coffee? And I remembered wondering, what is she going to choose? And it was so exciting. And thinking to myself, for years when I was a young girl, I had professional aspirations. Then later I would find out that I felt upset because I felt like I had to pursue a PhD, but I didn't want it in my heart. So that's the cognitive dissonance these young girls are getting is, do we want a career or do we want to have kids? Well, I mean, at least you can bank on a career. And it's like, most of us are not out here being lawyers or doctors. You see these older women, these Gen X mothers, these baby boomer mothers trying to make their daughters doctors and lawyers because they weren't. And that is not the move.
No, that is definitely not the move. So the book is called Subverted. It's by Sue Ellen Browder. It's called Subverted: How I Helped the Sexual Revolution Hijack the Women's Movement. So first wave feminism really was just about giving women choices. You want to be
property ownership,
there you go,
things like that.
Absolutely. And then Sue Ellen Browder and women of her ilk came along and sort of put it on steroids and said, okay, now that you have these rights, we're letting you know that it's better to be out here and be a Carrie Bradshaw than it is to be a Beverly Cleaver, or was that her name? June Cleaver, right? June Cleaver. And of course, now women these days are suffering the consequences. So let me go to Luli here. Why is it that women themselves dismiss or they diminish feminine contributions? Why do they exalt masculine traits in women while shaming the feminine traits women have to offer?
Yeah, I think there's a multitude of reasons. So, for example, you'll always hear women talking amongst each other, and they will say, one will say, "Oh, I'm just a housewife," and it's like, it's, I'm just a housewife. Being a housewife is a full-time job. It should be honored. It used to be honored, and it's just not anymore. And women are women that are housewives seem to be embarrassed when it's nothing. It's absolutely something to be so proud of, to look after your home and your children or your partner, whatever it may be. And it just seems to be shamed. And, online on all these sort of, go compare websites. I don't know if you, of course you have that in America because the internet's worldwide, but yeah, go compare websites, all of these things is, there's always a drop down bar, right? And it says what your role is. And they now it's either they don't have housewife or they have house person, house husband, housewife. And but housewife used to be one of the top 3. Even just 10 years ago, it was still there. And it's just not. And it's I just think that it's all being pulled away, but it's almost like there's a shame around it, and it's like thrown under the carpet as, you know, that's just lame or sad or whatever, when it's actually the most like beautiful thing. And also, just on another stance, it's you know, what Rolo always says, and I could not agree more, is women will do anything not to be saddled with a loser guy.
Woo.
Right? So they, you know, there are not many, you know, high value alpha men out there, as we all know. And women, you know, they don't want to be saddled with a guy that isn't masculine. So they're probably just going to go off and think, well, I need to fend for myself. So there's, you know, that. But like I always say, I think if femininity, you know, came into alignment, masculinity would too, 100%. Yeah, it's like also promoted a lot here anyway, that it's completely sustainable, which it's not. To be a mom, to be a wife, and to be a career woman, and it is not sustainable. I have seen so many women, friends, people that I've volunteered with, all of these girls that have just, every single one is miserable or losing, or you know, or they end up having to, you know, go to therapy and things, because they just will not let go of the fact that it's not sustainable, and they are miserable. They are not coping. The marriage is falling apart. The children are running wild. Like, children are not, I don't know about you guys, but you know, when I was small, most children were really well behaved, right? And even just things like, I know this is slightly off subject, but even things like when we were small and we went to a birthday party, that was a huge thing. Our parents would have to go and buy a dress for the birthday party.
Yes.
Do you remember that? And the little bow ties that the boys would wear? God. That is all gone now. You see these kids, they're dragged to the party, they're half dressed. No one has made an effort. Oh, mum, I'm running. I've got to drop her, and then I've got to go to work, because there's no time for the children, for making that birthday party special, for those, you know, beautiful traditional things that we used to have when we were young. And also, you know, things just being instant as well. I think that's a lot of thing to do with it as well. Everything is instant in this world, and it's just making people miserable. And trust me, these women that think they can have it all, they are absolutely broken. And they can't, they're not coping physically or emotionally.
Wow. Very well said, Tallulah. Devin, tough act to follow.
Yeah, in my next life, I want to come back as Tallulah's baby so that she can throw me back.
So why is it that women specifically, and it's not, we as men, we don't diminish the feminine contributions. Only black pill guys, only losers, women are good for nothing, blah 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 blah. That's the anger phase. Outside of that, most women, at least outwardly, diminish the feminine contribution. Why is that?
I think women are petty.
All right.
And you know, unfortunately, this is a very common approach to, if you can't compete, cancel or destroy it. So
yeah, like Anthony Johnson's trying to do.
Oh yeah. And I think that stems from insecurity, saying that, okay, I've been taught that I need to be this, and this is what feminism taught me to be. And here's a woman who's soft around the edges, gets her way. People like her. People talk nice about her. She's winning. But yet I can't compete because I've been molded into this.
Okay.
So it's almost like it's easier to demonize the feminine than it is to compete with it, or to even actually change and adopt some of those things that they see. So it's all, you know, it's like, if I can't be her, I'm gonna hate her, you know, and that's just petty. That's just immaturity. And also, let's see. Yeah. So basically, my point is that women that represent what another woman can't be, they're going to demonize her. They're going to say, oh, you know, she's trying too hard, she's a slut, she's not really her, whatever's fake, blah blah blah. You know, it's all the same. I wanted to talk about something, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
And I've been seeing this before. It's like these headlines about no children at weddings.
That's
And
interesting. I've never
yeah,
heard
I've
of
seen
that.
all these stupid headlines and stuff. And
No
it's just
children
like,
at weddings. Why?
because
That's weird.
there's a reason why, and I understand the reason why. And this has been going on for probably like the last 10, 15 years,
What?
is that people don't want people to bring their kids to weddings anymore. Now, when I was young, some of my best, like, most vibrant memories are being at the weddings of family members and my parents' friends and things like that, because it's a big party. You gotta
Sure.
put on a dress, you get to dance, there's cake, you know, like, and so now they don't want people to bring kids because they don't want to pay for the extra heads.
Right.
So rather than negotiating with the venue saying, hey, I have 50 adults and 12 children, you know, give me a price for the children, they're just saying no children.
Jesus Christ.
And
Just to save money.
It's robbing kids of that very impressionable experience of going to a wedding and seeing the joy of what a marriage can entail and seeing how it brings people together. And I think that is a really big mistake people are making. And it's just because of the bottom line.
Yeah.
And then, and also another thought. Invest in nursing homes right now. Invest in home care services.
That's all right.
Because we have a whole generation of adult men and women right now with no children who have no one to take care of them when they get old. So like just starting investing in technology that will like be good for telehealth and home care, stuff like that, because this is going to be a big issue in like 30 or 40 years. I can already see it.
Wow, very good.
And
Go
lastly,
ahead. All right.
lies in the media. Tallulah, you reached out to that guy who wrote that article,
Brian Zarpentine.
Yeah, and he basically told you that the article was just bull and it wasn't serious, it was silly. Meanwhile, it's being mixed in with legitimate advertising for women and content with women who need help. And the fact that they're muddying the water so much, it's not even a hurt and rescue attempt.
Nope.
It's more of a hurt attempt. And they're trying to tell women bad advice and then give them a bad rescue.
Okay. Wow.
So it's like literally jumping from the frying pan into the fire, saying, okay, I'm going to read this advice that this guy wrote and it's bad and it got me into trouble. So now I need relationship help. So I'm going to seek out a female relationship coach to help me. And now I'm going to really double down on the stuff that doesn't work. So so it's very, very important that, and it's not just women diminishing other feminine stuff. I think that circles like this trap everyone into diminishing the feminine.
I agree. What Devin is talking about is Tallulah reached out to Brian Zarpentine. Brian Zarpentine is a male writer at bold.com. And Dev, you and I, we talked about this article that he wrote.
Yeah, it was like how to make your man jealous.
How to make your man jealous. And Tallulah straight up called the guy out on Twitter. She said, "Be Zarp, if I did any of this with my man would leave. No high value man is going to entertain this behavior you're promoting." And so he decides to hit Tallulah up. He decides to slide into her DMs and says, give me 2 seconds here. I don't know why this is not working. Come on. There we go. He says, I'm not promoting anything. It's just a silly article based on a topic the site owner thought would get a lot of hits. It's not anything that needs to be taken seriously.
Okay, you wrote for ROK.
I wrote for Return of
Kings.
Yes.
Did Roosh ever have you guys write articles that were silly and just would get a lot of hits?
No, I mean, if an article, if we so what we used to do, we used to submit anywhere between 3 and 5 articles every week. Now, obviously, the purpose of a blog is to get hits and all this other kind of stuff,
Right.
but it was all rooted in truth.
Right.
If somebody ever called me out and said, "Hey, Donovan, what you wrote on Return of Kings is bullshit," blah 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 blah, I'm not going to return with, "Well, listen, this is just a silly article. You shouldn't take this seriously." No, I'll be like, "No, I'm dead fucking serious about what I wrote."
And that's what attracted me to you, is that I came across some of your articles
Mhm.
and they made me laugh, they made me gasp, and then they made me nod my head in agreement, because a lot of it
Mhm.
was true, but
That's
I've
right.
never heard anyone say it like that.
Right?
That's kind of why. But you always double down and say, yes, okay, here's the delivery might be entertaining
Mhm.
and it might draw people in. That's the whole point of media. But the truth is the proof is in the pudding here. Here's why I think this, and here's why. Well, boom, 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 boom. I can prove my point. This guy has nothing to back what he wrote. And
Nothing.
it's extremely dangerous.
Ridiculous.
And it doesn't have the label of satire on
Nope.
it whatsoever. And
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
And tucked in that article was, and we talked about this yesterday, hey, if you're having trouble in your relationship, get with a relationship coach.
And 95% of them are women.
Unbelievable. So in this satirical article that shouldn't be taken seriously, don't take this article seriously, but take our dating advice that we're selling seriously. Guys, this is what we are dealing with. We are dealing with websites who are literally selling out to make money on the backs of ignorant women. And we wonder why women think this way. A lot of people like to talk about, oh, these girls on Fresh and Fit, they're all just club sluts and club thoughts and this and that and the third. And they are. But their mentality is pervasive among most, if not all, Western women. So a lot of people try to disqualify these girls who are on Fresh and Fit. Y'all, they are a cross section. They are an accurate representation of the way women think. And it's articles that were written on bold perpetuate that.
Okay. And that's, I think what this guy's response was is the standard, not like the exception. I think this happens a lot. And it made me think the other day, I wonder how many Reddit articles that we read are actually real, or if they're glanced to see how people will react, like an idea for a script or something.
It's incredible.
Because some of the stuff doesn't even seem like it's real. And not only that, the responses are completely crazy.
It's just ridiculous.
So it's almost like sticking like a thermometer and taking the temperature of the water. How would people react to this? Oh, okay. Well, now let's see how the article about how people reacted does on the news website.
And let's continue to
see
perpetuate
if this goes viral. If this goes viral, then it might be good enough to put into a book or a movie or a script or a TV show or something of that nature. So anyway, it's just, never mind.
It's incredible, man. It really is. Muta Warrior on the Twitch side says you can't trust anything these days. No, you can't. No, you absolutely can't. He also says this reminds me of what you said last night on the 6th regarding Fresh and Fit. With that is going to bring us to the end of this episode. Fantastic episode, ladies. You guys definitely brought it. Tallulah, you have something to add?
Yeah, just quickly. It's just like, I was just thinking how, dangerous it really is that this guy, with what he actually said, I think I just screenshot it and sent it, didn't I? I didn't really think about it. And, there's people like all of us on this panel, Donovan, and then there's all like Donovan's Manosphere friends and all the women that are now in this space, that we are literally putting a lot of like, not only our time, but our actual lives on the line, with this true stuff to try and help people, to try and, bring people to have better lives. And it just makes me really sad that we are all here literally putting our lives like at risk in ways of things that are controversial, right? When they're actually not. The reality is they're not. We're all here doing that. And working harder, and then there's people like this that just off the cuff will throw something out there and just destroying lives and lying about it. It's actually really sad, and it's made me really angry.
It's incredible. Our opposition, when we challenge them on their ridiculousness, their defense is, don't take what we say seriously. Say what? Like, dude, millions of women read that article every day. And we wonder why the dating market is a shit show, because you have now men writing articles that shouldn't be taken seriously. And oh, by the way, we're going to advertise dating advice. That is, if that is not the definition of selling out, I have no idea what is.
Yeah.
Quantum Conclave with the $10 super chat says, great conversation, ladies and Donovan. Jay Blaze says, it's annoying. I can't push back or you'll get fired. Muta Warrior says, these clowns have to be exposed on a grand scale. I think I might actually do a video on this Brian Zarpentine. Yeah, because this is incredible.
Tag the heck out of Bold.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, Janelle Testa, she tried to get me canceled. Remember her? She couldn't do it. Okay, let's go around the panel. Let's get your final thoughts and to tell the people where they can find you. Allie, lead us off.
Alrighty, well, you can find me on my YouTube channel at RealFemSapien, on Instagram at RealFemSapien. I have a blog, RealFemSapien.com. That's probably the most that you can probably get into my psychology. And women, if you're watching and you're going to pursue relationship coaches, I understand that going to women sounds good. It sounds like they would make sense, but you're going to have to literally vet them. Are they in a long-term relationship? Has there ever been any dirt that came out? Or if there has been some dirt, did it come from their mouths where they were saying to their audience, these are some mistakes I've been making lately in my home, and I'm trying to work through them.
Look what Mom got out.
In the city of Boston, people play.
There are some things that these are some steps I'm planning on taking. I'm going to let you guys know along the way, because if you don't have something to document, that's okay, because you can document the process. Because there are a lot of dark femininity coaches that are going to tell you what you want to hear versus what you need to hear. I'm telling you, it's not very profitable to tell women the truth. I coach women myself. It is not profitable at all, but I do it for content creation. So just keep that in mind. And if anything, find trustworthy men and women in your lives, women that have been married over a decade who are joyfully married. That's one thing. And for the men in your lives, they will typically be more honest with you. Just be prepared for some of the answers that you're asking for, because if you respond hyper emotional every time you ask for the truth, they're just going to stop telling you what's up. So be mindful.
Okay, very good. Tallulah, your final thoughts, and subscribe to Allie's channel. Are you at 2,000 subs yet or no?
I'm about to be. I need, I think, 100, 170, and then I'll be at 2K, and then me and my man will do a live Q&A, and that'll be fun. If you're pursuing the excellence, and then you want to find a woman later in life, it's going to be some good insight.
Good, very good. So preemptive congratulations there. Let's get Tallulah to 1,000 subscribers. My goal is to get you to 1,000 subscribers by the end of January. Fell a little bit short of that, but that doesn't mean that we can't continue to push this. Tallulah, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed today's conversation. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed it a lot. And you can find me at my new YouTube channel, which is The Feminine Truth. That's The Feminine Truth. And the Instagram account is basically just the double of the YouTube. And that's The Feminine Truth. The Feminine Truth. Oh, yeah. And if you did want to follow my Twitter, or if you had any ideas for any videos that I could do, then please do tweet me at Feminine Truths. That's just at Feminine Truths. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I'm looking at your channel right now. It looks like Tallulah, let's see here. Let me do a quick check here. It looks like Tallulah is 223 subscribers short of reaching 1,000. So let's get her another 223 subscribers all the way. Dude, I remember when I first saw your channel, I think you might have had 38 subscribers. So the hard work that you're putting in is clearly showing. Let's get Tallulah to 1,000 subscribers. And then from there, we can get her monetized so that her message can start getting out.
All right.
Dev, what are your final thoughts? And tell the people where they can find you.
Okay. Let's see. Women just need to discriminate who they're listening to. Just because it's a woman doesn't mean you need to listen to them. Just because it's a man doesn't mean you need to listen to them. Like, use your head, people. Come on. But don't automatically discount someone just because of their gender. You can get good advice from both sides, but you got to really discriminate. You can find me here. Right here.
Right here. And your Instagram?
Nope.
I love doing that.
My TikTok? Nope.
Yeah, Jay Blaze. Yes. Jay Blaze says follow Dev's imaginary IG account. And with wait a minute, there we go. And with that is going to do it for this edition of Not All Women. I'm not sure if we probably will do, you know what? We will be here next week. Deb and I are going to Miami, so we're gonna be down in Miami from Wednesday.
The 9th to the 12th. Wednesday to Saturday.
From Wednesday to Saturday, and then we'll be back. Oh yeah, we're back Saturday afternoon. At which point then we'll be here for Sunday morning, and we'll see what happens there. Allie, you're going to be I think you'll be traveling at that point in time, but we'll certainly hopefully be able to get you on. If not, we'll see you the next week. King Life says you can find Devin at IG. Not found. At any rate,
I said I'm a 404,
a
not
404,
a 304.
not a 304. Wow, that's actually a good. That's a T-shirt merch type of deal. Thank you guys very much for watching. And